Hello, Moon to Moon. Happy new moon. How are you? I'm coming to you today with another Magician's Table alumni episode. I am so glad that I am doing these. It is really just so heart expanding to spend time with these individuals, to hear their stories, and to ground me back into what this space is. It's it's fun, it's moving, and listener, if you're here, it's likely because you are seriously circling, considering, wondering about, dancing around, maybe even resisting joining the Magician's Table 2026, or maybe you're listening for a future year and you've gone back to listen to old alumni episodes. So I have three magicians for this conversation, and I pulled the card Two of Dis, or Two of Pentacles, which in my deck is called Change. And when I pulled the card, I was like, the conversation is going to be big magic makes big change. And as you likely know, the theme for Magician's Table this year is go big for your magic, go big for our world, which is inspired by the Wheel of Fortune year that we're in. And Wheel of Fortune is associated with Jupiter. So I thought it was pretty perfect that two of the cards that I pulled for various alumni conversations are Jupiter cards. Because in the tarot, the minor arcana have astrological associations. And this one is associated with Jupiter in Capricorn. So there's like a structural change at play that comes with big magic. We also talked in this episode about how big change also brings big magic, and about how magic is change and change is magic. So before I read the bios for our dear magicians to this episode, I want to just make sure everybody's clear on what's coming here. What's coming here is that Friday the 20th, we've got the Dream Reel, which is my big global spell hosted by TMT for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries. It's free. You just have to be on the TMT mailing list in order to be able to get the link to come and be part of this. We are going to be doing active participatory magic. And when you sign up for the mailing list, there will be a link to a little video I made. It's 11 minutes long, where I'm going to go through like what the itinerary is for our hour together on the 20th, in case you're like, yeah, but really, what are we doing? So join the mailing list and you'll get that link. And then everyone on that mailing list on the 22nd at 11 a.m. Eastern is going to be getting a link to then apply to the Magician's Table 2026. And the main thing you need to know here and understand is that seats are going to get reserved in the order of applications received. So Google Forms has the order. I'm not in charge of the order. The order is whenever you claim your seat. I'm encouraging you to be brave, to be audacious, and claim your seat. If you want this, it's because it's for you. If you want this, it's because you belong. If you want this, it's because you are part of Big Magic Makes Big Change in 2026. So I'm encouraging you to just go ahead and get your application in as early as possible. And that way you can claim your tuition and you can claim your cohort. There's 5 cohorts of 12 individuals, and they will fill in the order that your applications come in and people start reserving their seats. Like I have a spreadsheet and I start just dropping people into the cohorts. And it's like a wild time of seeing names just filling up the sheet. And like, okay, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming. The seats are filling, the seats are filling. So I would love for you to be one of those names. If this is calling for you, if it's resonating, if you want to come back. Yeah, it's an exciting time. Next week's going to be very busy, very, very busy indeed. Okay, so let me think if there's anything else I would need to tell you there. Then everything else you need to know is at the website in terms of information, and everything you need to know in terms of resonance is across these episodes. Okay, so we have 3 guests for this conversation today. Let me introduce them to you now. Yes, right here. We have first Bella O'Brien. Bella, she, they, known as Miha of Moon, is a mestizo oracular artist, word weaver, and guide who helps folks slow down, move through change, and reorient to their truth. She creates spirit led encounters weaving poetry, tarot, channeling, and energy work to welcome you back home to yourself, to relationship, and to earth. And you can connect to Bella at Miha of Moon or mihaofmoon.com. Then we have Breezy Barcelo. Breezy is a mental health occupational therapist, integrative transformational coach, artist, student herbalist, and founding member of the Music Medicine Collective. With a decades-long love of earth-based spirituality, song, and storytelling, she weaves creativity, rhythm, and a deep connection to nature into her work. Her path began as a birth and postpartum doula, nurturing children and families, and her OT research focused on the healing power of the natural world. Based in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Breezy supports non-traditional college students through the Jeanette Rankin Foundation and teaches in the holistic health department at Western Michigan University. She currently offers virtual coaching sessions and then it's her Instagram link. You can get this in the show notes, but she's Breezy Barcelo at Instagram. And then Sarah Kajani. Sarah is an alchemical intuitive writer and teacher. She guides you to blend your darkness and light to create the most beautiful gray that only can be you. Through relational language and a blend of modalities, she supports you in expanding your capacity and sharpening your discernment so you return to your own inner authority. She holds, you lead. She questions, you direct. She reminds, you discover. She is versed in energy healing, hypnosis, NLP, timeline therapy, tarot, mindfulness, and more, using each as a mirror rather than a map. And then you can see the links for Sarah's connecting with Sarah in the show notes below. Thank y'all so much for being here. I had so much fun reconnecting with you. All right, listeners, enjoy. Welcome to Moon, Bella O'Brien, Breezy Barcelo, and Sarah Kajani. It's so great to see you. Thank you for coming. Why don't we begin by each of you introducing yourselves to orient the listeners to you? Let them know your name, where you're calling in from, pronouns, and maybe share some about the magic that moves through you.
Amazing. Hi, I'm Bella O'Brien. I live in Denver, Colorado. A lot of magic moves through me, but these days, it's a lot of channeled poetry, one-on-one readings. Channeling is like my latest love with magic, and so doing that in different ways has been really supportive for me.
And hi, my name is Breezy Barcelo, and I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we're very happy here to have a 50-degree day today after weeks of freezing weather. So that's lovely. When I think of what magic moves through me, my first thought is earth magic. For so long, it just seems like a connection to the earth is really what's most important to me. And I kind of tend to bring that into everything I do, even professionally. And also, I've been exploring a lot of like inner alchemy lately and just how that works and looks and how that can be presented in such a variety of ways to people who are looking for healing and nourishment. So those two really kind of stand out to me right now.
And I'm Sarah Kajani. I am calling in from Peachtree City, Georgia, although I am always nomading. So it's really funny to be doing this call where I actually sat and did my TMT. It feels like a full circle moment, actually, because I leave on Saturday. So it's really crazy. And as far as how magic moves through me, I'm still in the discovery phase of how it's really coming forth. But as Breezy kind of talked about, it is with the inner alchemy. And for right now, similar to both Bella and Breezy, it's coming out in different ways like poetry, automatic writing, one on one readings, and even just meditations, just kind of helping people find that little bit of silence and falling in love with the gray that's created when you allow yourself, your shadows and your light to kind of alchemize in their own way.
Thank you so much. I'd love to hear some of the personal story behind how you maybe maybe found my work, but then found the magician's table. Like, how did you first hear about it? What was it like encountering the promo of it? And what was coming up in your life when you decided to say yes or explore the possibility of saying yes? As you came to your yes, what were you hoping for? What was like the dream in the yes, as you found your way to the doorway?
Wow. So I found your work through Jonathan Coe, like many others do, who I met through Leah Garza's Living Systems container. Um, and I think I first heard of TMT just on Moon to Moon, like going back. Like I think I went to an older episode when I first discovered you, and I heard like an older promo, and I was like, "Oh, what is that?" And then when like last year's was announced, I just knew him. I knew immediately. I wasn't like a resistant person about it. And I listened to every piece of promo. I read every email. I like listened to the year before's like I was like, I really want to like know everything I can possibly know before stepping in to this container because I had never like been in one of your containers before. And so I just remember every step of the way I was like, yes. I was just like, this is so exciting. And last year I think I was really doubting my magic. And I think I was having a hard time figuring out like what it really was that I wanted to move through me. And I really wanted an opportunity to explore like the different facets of how I felt like I was showing up magically, whether that be with art or writing or in with tarot or just with like deep presence. And so I was like, I want an opportunity to be with magical people and to explore like what it actually looks like to synthesize all of these things that feel a little fractured for me.
Thank you.
I love all of that, Bella. I cannot remember if I first discovered your work on Instagram or the Moon to Moon podcast, but I think it was like similar timing. And there was definitely for a while, actually, I was like looking back just recently, and I had your like unshaming your chart quotes on Instagram saved like everywhere, on my phone, on Pinterest, in my emails, on my computer, because so much of the unshaming your chart work is just, I mean, all of it, honestly. I just align with it so much. Like, it's so good for me. It's been so good for me. And so then I think I signed up for Unshaming Aquarius, so just a little more than a year ago, and sat in on that with you. And I had like pages of notes for that like hour and a half that it was. Um, and again, it kind of like confirmed just how much I felt like the goddess like speaks to me through you. Like, I have many things in my life that I feel like the goddess speaks through, and one are my teachers, you know, which you have definitely become one. And so when I saw the Magician's Table start to, you know, uh, those promos and words and explanations, my first inclination was like, oh, like that's for people who have attained more than I have, or like who know more, who are more experienced. But I just kind of kept going with this like pull in my belly, as I always say. It's like a pull in my belly, or like an awakening in my heart, where it was just like, do it, go, like the application, you know. And I couldn't ignore it, because it was just like this constant, like, do it. And so I truly went in thinking, like, I'm not going to know as much as anyone else in there. But I mean, I don't know how much you want us to go right now into like being in that space, but wow, was it like amazing. I mean, even at the beginning, I remember when you talked about like the offerings, giving each other the offerings, and how it, like, how you even encouraged us to use our creativity, our imagination, just to be present, to maybe even like not plan ahead, just to be like, okay, what does, you know, what does this being in front of me need right now? And I very quickly realized that it was like a perfect space for me, actually. And I didn't need to attain anything to like be here. Um, and I could go on and on about like the time and experiences in there, but that's definitely kind of like that threshold of like stepping over and being like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. And being so rewarded by doing that, like by going for it.
Hmm. Thank you.
For me, I think I discovered you through Shahir, but I'm not sure. I do know that I applied the first time you released TMT. And I think at that point in time, I was just starting into the crescendo of like spirituality and mysticism and like what it meant. And I couldn't quite, I don't remember what hindered me from joining that time. And then last year, it was interesting because I had been out on a walk. There was a lot of, like, my heart had been split open through grief, and there was a lot going on in my life. And I had remembered that I really wanted to delve into the elemental language, because that was the only thing that felt like a frequency I could speak to, and it felt like a language that I needed to learn. And it spoke so much to what was going on, and there weren't so many people who could speak that language around me. And then I started getting your promos, and it was like, what? And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. But then, of course, like Breezy said, then it was just like, I don't know that much about astrology, but everything you were saying, I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like, but then I was like, you know what? There's no harm in just applying. I don't even know if I'll get in, you know, and then there are going to be so many applications. It doesn't mean anything. So I just told myself, like, let's just do it. Just do it. And then if I get in, then we can like ponder all of this, but let's just take the first step. It doesn't mean, you know, like, you never know what's going to happen. And at that moment, just like with Breezy, like, it was a really big tug, and it just felt like you were speaking to what I was going through at the time, just because it all just wove together and the synchronicity of it all. So I was like, okay, I told myself I was going to follow my synchronicities, the small breadcrumbs, like my heart's guidance. So that's what leaned me in. And then when I got accepted, and just the entirety of the situation of what was happening, and it felt like everything around me was crashing and burning, and I didn't know what to tag onto. And then I think we had a number of conversations. And then I just was like, you know what, it's now or never. Like, if I don't do this, then, like, what's the point of all the revelations while walking? Then it's like, I'm just not taking action. And so, it was kind of like, one small step for mankind kind of thing, like the landing of the moon. Like, we're just going to do it and we're just going to see what happens. And if it crashes and burns, it crashes and burns. But at least I don't have a what if question remaining in my mind. And I think that's the biggest thing for me was I don't want to live a life anymore of asking what ifs. Like, at that point, I had lived a life according to everybody else's suggestions and like society's guidance, and everything was crashing and burning at this point in time. So do I really want to walk that path again? Or do I want to really just listen to this small voice that's indicating that there could be something else and just take a chance? And I think that's the biggest thing is like when you're sitting at that moment, at that threshold of really wanting to say like yes or no, and like, do I follow this? It's more of saying yes to that daring part of you, and to maybe that part of you that was stepped on, and like that bold and brazen part of you that was told to shut up. And it's allowing that part of you to take charge and to feel that kind of fire and passion again, and to just allow life to kind of be co-created with you. And when I said yes, I had no idea what I was saying yes to. And I mean, I remember sitting through the initiation and just the initial reading of, like I don't remember what you call it, but like, just for now, I'll say introduction. But that first kind of like reading that we go through before you initiate us, I remember reading that and realizing like, okay, if anything, I get something from this. And from there, we see what happens. But yeah, so I think that's what I would say to anybody in that liminal space, and anybody who's grappling. I mean, I said yes while I was at home, and a lot of people at home don't understand anything of what I'm doing. And there's no one else that speaks the same language. And if you already feel alone, then this is a way for you to find people who understand the language that you don't even have to speak. It just emerges from you and from their presence, and you're being held. So if you're contemplating, if your words have been sinking into, if Britten's words have been sinking into your heart, then there is a reason, and let that be your guide.
Oh, wow, y'all. Personal storytelling is just the best. I loved hearing you. Thank you. I want to go deeper. Yeah, we chose this topic. Big magic makes big change. I actually pulled the Two of Dis, which in this deck is called Change, for this conversation. I just saw it and I heard, yes, big magic makes big change. It's a Jupiter card because it's connected to Jupiter and Capricorn, and Jupiter is so big. It's a Wheel of Fortune year, and Jupiter is associated with Wheel of Fortune. I just see this kind of like turning the wheel and with your life, just like getting involved in it. um, Yeah, I'd love to find out, like, when you were choosing a topic and you came to this one, like what comes up for you with that phrasing, if you want to share any personal anecdotes. And I'd also love to hear like how TMT made big magic and big change in your life. I was also thinking about how it also works in the reverse, like big change makes big magic. Like sometimes you don't know which one you're choosing first, and like which is the choice and then the outcome, like sometimes choosing change brings magic. And so it can be reverse. And to me, magic is change. So they're also the same thing. It's just like how you're thinking about it. Yeah. So feel free to just take up some space riffing. On what comes up for you with that one.
What first came up for me was, I mean, in TMT, we had a lot of conversations, like me and my cohort, about how subtle our magic could be, and how this subtle, like how these small moments, these small encounters were that they made all the difference. And so when I first heard big magic, I was like, I don't know about big magic. but but then I was like, it's not necessarily like everything is huge or like explosive and color. Going big for your magic, really like believing in your magic and investing in your magic and being devoted to your practice and to like what feels true for you is, for me, what it means to hold big magic. And TMT helped me so much like step into the fullness of that, because I think I stepped in being like, I'm a tarot reader. And I left being like, I'm an oracle. I don't know, like I am so much more. Um and part of that was like the brilliant magicians that were in my cohort, which Lily and um Leanne and Shahira were all a part of my experience. But I like walked in and I was like, oh, these people are huge with their magic. And it gave me permission to be like, I can do what I want. Like no one is stopping me. And like I was at this point in my practice where, with other people at least, where I was like deeply like reconnecting with like ancestral wisdom and ritual, and I was doing a lot of ritual work for myself. But then when like I had one-on-one sessions with other people, I like stopped myself a little bit because I didn't want to be like too much for them, or like make them feel weird, or be like, you don't believe this and I do. And so I was like navigating this like weird space where I was like, it feels better to me when I like sit in this like deep ritual space and I like call in all of these energies, and I like sit with this person and I have them call in energies, and like that this is like a big container that we're creating together. And I feel like the process of TMT allowed me to like slowly feel okay just being like, I can own my process. Like I can own the way that I want to create the container for my magic, because I witnessed all of these people who are like, you're gonna like, I'm gonna tell you what to do, like Dre, who is such a amazing oracle and magician. Like they're like, this is like, I require that you like make an offering to the land after this reading, and like do all these things because this is like in alignment with my practice. And I was like, oh, I could do that too. Like I can ask people to do something. Like, wow. And it's like, I feel like that was just such a huge part of my experience, was being like, I don't have to limit myself. I'm not making myself even more palatable, but I'm making my magic smaller by not sitting in the truth of what wants to come through and how it wants to come through. And so I think for me, the process, it took me a while in the meetups to like fully, and in my readings with people, to like even start to explore all the facets of my magic, because I was like, I'm just gonna do tarot readings for like the first few weeks, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'll try like to do art, channeled art and a reading, but like there'll be a tarot reading after the art because like what if it's not enough? And like it just took a long time, and like each time it was like helpful to have like these brilliant people reflect back like how meaningful and how impactful those like little experiments were. And then it allowed me to slowly be like, okay, I don't have to limit myself. I can go big. I can be big in whatever that means for me. Yeah.
I'm so glad you used the word limit, Bella, because that was one thing I was thinking about when I saw the title of this one, or like the topic was that like change is limitless. And I love the idea of like breaking out of limits. Like even, I mean, we put so many limits on ourselves, I feel like, and even in the area for me of like magic and spirituality, there have been so many times in my life where I'm like, okay, these things are spiritual and these things are not. Or like this part of my life is magic and this part of my life is not. And I have to say that a huge part of those 3 months in TMT like melded it all together for me, which is super cool. Like it stopped those like boxes I was putting things on. Like when I pull tarot cards and meditate, I'm spiritual. And, when I'm doing my nonprofit work, I'm not. And like, no, like it really just kind of broke down so many walls for me. And I think a lot of that was the contact with my cohort. Because again, like I mean, I'm still in contact with them, by the way. When we ended TMT, we made a WhatsApp group and we regularly message in there, which is so sweet too. And just kind of like breaking down some of those walls, or like those um, titles or names. I'm trying to think of like a good word for that. Like it feels like judgment almost, right? When we're like, this person's a healer or this person's magic. When we really like see each other and just be present with each other and like are open to our gifts and what comes through for each other, it just, I mean, that is really magic. Like that is the good stuff, like it doesn't even need titles or names or labels. So that was huge for me. And I mean, on a personal level, I did feel so much change through those 3 months of being there and since then. And it's like this it's like this learning process that I've had of really like creating the life I want. I feel like that sounds so cliche and cheesy, but it's like real. Like like when you learn how powerful your thoughts are, your perspective, your just like your inner work and your choices. I felt like in TMT, I was like learning to make choices to be a channel, or just to be present, or just to trust that like whatever was going to happen was going to happen, was going to come through. And that is incredibly beautiful experience and changed me very much, so that I could like integrate so much more magic into my life. And just on the topic of change, before I stop, I have to read, because okay, Octavia Butler is one of my favorite authors. And there's this quote in the Parable of the Sower, which one of my favorite books, where the world as we know it has ended, and the main character, she's kind of like coming up with her own new religion. And her like main quote is, all that you touch you change, all that you change changes you, the only lasting truth is change, God is change. I love that.
For me, I think just generally big magic equals big change, or big change equals big magic. I think for me, with the TMT container and with my cohort, it was a lesson in presence, and allowing the safety of the container to allow for expansion, and expansion of capacity and presence and trust, and a formulation of sort. Like you were able to kind of step into a void that allowed you to liberate yourself in a way that was so much more than what you had planned. And it was kind of like you could come in every week and fall apart as much as you needed to, and no one was judging you. And you had so much love emanate from everyone around you. And that, I think, is a testament to what it means to step into your presence. Because when you step into your presence, you become the change that you want to see in the world. And that itself is magical. And I think when I was looking at the topic, first of all, even clicking the email to see if I could speak on a podcast was one thing. But then to see it, I think for me, it was the whole lesson was stepping into vulnerability and speaking from that place of vulnerability. So big magic equals big change. When I saw it, I was like scared of the topic. I didn't know what it would wield. And so for me, I was like, I told myself I wanted to own my presence and I wanted to own my vulnerability. And that's been probably the hardest thing. And with TMT, after TMT, whether this is a synchronicity with the year of the snake or not, I have no idea, but I'm going to take it as it is and say that it is. But through TMT, after TMT, it's been a crazy, sordid, humbling, messy, beautiful, aggravating journey of just melting so many layers and really coming into the mirror reflection and mirror of who I am, and what do I really want to move forward with. And so actually me coming on here was like, I know nothing. I am merely like someone who I feel is nowhere near the teachers that I experienced in my cohort. And through the other cohorts, when we would have our like inter-elemental like talks, and everyone would come in and share, like, I think it was merely to show myself that I have something to say, but also to speak to, the people. I can say, being a minority, like, speak to us who you're not always able to speak your truth. And that is something that I've always been very passionate about, and finding my way towards. So, to be fair, that's why I came on. um, and I think the TMT, at least for me, gave me support, but also a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful container of pure love. And everyone is vulnerable, and you can hear it, even though sometimes you look at them and you're like, how can you be? Like, you just offered me this wonderful, wonderful practice that you created, or that you channeled or you spoke through, whatever your gift was, and you're telling me that you don't see what I see, so it's quite it's quite beautiful to be held in that space together, and to know that as you fall apart, you're not alone. And similar to Breezy, we also have a WhatsApp group, and we all talk in our WhatsApp group and just share what's going on or how we're feeling and whatnot. And so, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very curious, like, how it's been, if you would share some about since, like, what it's like to feel the ripples into the post TMT times. Like, you've shared some about this already, but if there's anything else you'd want to share about, like, what's kind of been growing since. And sometimes what's growing is a completely internal process and it's not external, but that still counts. Like, it's not, as we're not doing external magic as the only magic here. So, yeah, I'd love to hear some about the post TMT ripples of change, and yeah, anything that you'd want to share about, feel free.
I mean, one of my favorite things, like has been mentioned, is the community of people that I met has just changed my life. And I feel like having a magical community is like really powerful and impactful for just like my sense of belonging and just my like it just like expands like every day I just my mind is expanded, my heart is enriched by the people that I met in TMT, you know? And that is such a gift. Um, and you know, I've been like I feel like I've been like 10 people since TMT. Um, but really I feel like it kickstarted this journey of really wanting to claim my magic. And that has led to like a lot of thresholds and hurdles and grief and triumph and exploration and play, but I feel like I'm still in this like process of allowing all the things that I like learned in that container to slowly filter into life. Into learning to trust fully and surrender and be present. Like a big part of big magic makes big change for me is it's not it's not my business the impact of my magic. It's just my business to take it so seriously and to put my whole self into it and to trust it. Um, because I'll never know like fully. And to try to like want an impact just like is not how you go big for your magic. And it can feel like it is for a while, and then you're like, it just leads to you like sort of filtering like your actual creative spirit. Um, and so for me, a lot of it has been like, I just gotta do since TMT, I'm like, just do what you want to do and trust that that's like the right thing to do. Because I think before I was so trying to do what I thought I was supposed to do. And TMT really cracked something open. I was like, yeah, don't do that. Do you. Like trust you. Be you. You are the magic. Like your medicine is your presence. It's your heart. It's not you trying to be someone else. Yeah, and so yeah, I've been working still a lot on like my channeled art and my channeled poetry and one-on-one containers for supporting people, and that's been just like really delightful and fun because I think it's not easy just trusting yourself. It's just blindly being like, I'll just walk into the room and I'll trust that I have the tools that I need to to be what needs to happen, right? Like if someone is sitting across from me and has chosen that, like I need to trust that I can show up as myself, and that will be what it needs to be. And so it's in such small ways and big ways. Like I you just never know what your magic is gonna do for others or do for you. So you just gotta go for it. And that's been my journey. Since TMT is really planning less and trusting more.
I love that so much, Bella. Thank you. Um, gosh, I could say so many things about since TMT and um, what staying with my magic has looked like. And it just popped in my head. I think I even emailed you, Britten, like a month in and was like, "This is changing my life." And I really and I know I mentioned it before, that kind of melding, that kind of like erasing like the lines or the boxes or the limits, but I feel like it did a lot of that for me. And because I started to have the realization during that container that like like me saying like I'm a witch or I practice magic or any of that um wasn't so dependent on like what books I've read or what classes I've taken, but just like who I am and like what, like my creativity and my imagination and what I'm going to say to you right here, right now, because I don't even know what it's going to be, that kind of presence. And so because of that, I was able to trust myself to bring that more into my work. All of the work I do is helping people and teaching. So and it's all I've like ever done. If I look back on my work, it's just like a constant helping work is how I always seem to make my money. So have been able to like open up a lot. And even if I can't use some of the language that we get to use in TMT, which I love that I get to use that language there, um, as far as like connecting with the elements or whatever we're doing, that openness is so beautiful. I've been able to bring that into my professional work and I think help people in a much bigger way, even just with that like warmth and presence that comes through connecting to each other and connecting to the earth and the stars and all the beautiful stuff we do in TMT. But I've also grown in confidence because, like I said, I went in there kind of feeling like, not kind of, like really feeling like I may not have as much to offer as the other folks. And coming out realizing that I have a ton to offer. Like, and it's like, it reminded me of a couple years ago, I went to this herbal conference and because I'm super into plants and plant medicine and have been for a long time. And this teacher was like, raise your hand if you call yourself an herbalist. And I didn't. And he like pointed at me and he's like, how long have you been using herbs for medicine? And I was like, well, since my first kid was born. So that was like 25 years ago. And he was like, oh, but you're not an herbalist. And I was like, no. And I feel like I do the same thing with so many areas of life, and that I had kind of been doing that also before TMT of being like, well, and I'll always be learning. I mean, all of us are always learning, right? But being like, well, I don't really have anything to offer until I, go through this course or learn all of this or can memorize all of this. And that is just so not true. And I really did see, like, as much as I admired the gifts of those in my cohort, like, I mean, yeah, like what gifts it is to be held by other amazing, beautiful magicians, I also came to realize like how much I had to offer and how much people were appreciating that. And I'll never forget during one of my offerings, I got this very like clear vision of the words, well, art as a spell. And like and art has always been really important to me, but I never like saw it like connected with my magic. And ever since then, I totally have. So that's been a huge change in my personal life too. So yeah, just really both personally and what I have been offering my community too with music and art and holding space and circles and stuff like that too has just it's just really all increased in a way that is, it's interesting because it feels like more genuine to me, but also like less stressful because I'm not putting all those kind of limits and lines on it, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Say, just like, I think.
Hold on one second. Repeat what you said because I didn't catch it.
Oh, I just said after the magical journey that was TMT. I like a Breezy and Bella. I think it goes along with becoming more confident and owning myself and finding myself acknowledging all the different parts of me that I think I would usually dismiss and really owning that in front of people and in front of community and in front of friends. And sometimes it meant the melting of relationships and the pausing of relationships. But really coming to this place of understanding and of listening and of complete tenderness with myself. and being slow, like really bringing things into reverence, like a deep reverence. Although it's quite hard because I have this. I mean, I think it's kind of like, how do you come into your complete presence, but then also exist on the earthly plane where you have to make a living. So it's like, how do I converge these two things? And so it was allowing myself the chance to slow down, even if everything is telling me not to, and allowing that to bring in its own magic. And there were definitely moments where the presence that I had found in TMT, really coming in and really embodying, like, you are your own magic, and simply just doing a ritual and then coming to each session and being like, okay, let's just see what happens. And then coming out of it and being like, oh my God, this could be an offering. Like, I don't know how I want to do this. And then having my first one and being like, oh, no, it's okay. Like, I usually charge this much, but I think for you, I'm just going to charge you how I would do a tarot reading, because I don't like, and just that simple act of not trusting. But then I think I recently created this digital product of like a 28-day journey of how to begin again. And it was a gift that I wanted to share with everyone on like all the different tools that I had, and then participating again in that journey after creating it with a small group of people and it being its own like product thing. And then having this moment where my own words would break something open in me and I would just start crying. And I think that was the first time that I even held myself in reverence, and really understanding what my presence can bring. And I think that was something that TMT brought, but also just this willingness to really like present yourself and to be you, and then to revere that and to see it and to hear it and to just have that texture of it become so real, um, and letting that change you. I mean, that's the greatest gift of all, because if you can just change yourself and really come into your own reverence, I think, irrespective of whether that helps anybody else, the main person that you really want to speak to is yourself, because you are only your best friend and you are only the person that you are with forever. Um, so I think that is the gift that TMT, gave me and is still giving me. Um, I'm still learning how to really love all these different parts and allow that magic to come into fruition and not try to control it. I think that's the biggest thing, is learning how not to control. And somehow in TMT you lose the desire to control, and then to try and imitate that outside is like so hard. And so I think having, the WhatsApp cohort is really amazing that way, because then you kind of feel like that magic that existed in TMT, that ability to let go of control, then exists in that WhatsApp group. And so every single time, sometimes I don't have to write anything, I just have to open that WhatsApp chat. And it's just the energy of that chat is enough to be like, okay, like during this next, increased capacity to hold myself and to hold the magic and the light and the gifts and not to be afraid of it, okay, we can move through this. Because I think one of the things that no one prepares you for is that as you fall more in love with your presence and more in love with your gifts and more in love with this capacity to hold it, also, and I'll speak personally to me, is like there's so much more emotional waves that come with it. There's so much more, because magic is unbounding and it's bringing about the dissolution of so many things that Breezy and Bella have talked about. And it's just like it moves, and sometimes you don't know how to be in these waves, and you thought you could surf, and then suddenly you realize, nope, I'm a novice again. I have no idea. And so it's just knowing that there are people and other people who are moving through them with you, and even if you're not in the same ocean, you're somehow in that same body of water and you're in that same essence, and it's okay to tumble. And it's okay. It's okay to really let go and to lose control.
Thank you so much. Maybe we only have a few more minutes. Maybe each of you, if there's any final words you might say for like a minute each, just or less, whatever feels right. Anything you would want to say to those who are considering coming and who plan to join for 2026?
Yeah, I would really just say listen and honor what is emerging for you right now. If it's resistance and it's desire at the same time, like both are intelligent. And so sit with them, get to know them, befriend the resistance, befriend the desire, and follow them and see where it leads you. Because I think it'll lead you where you're supposed to be.
I think I would say two things. One is if you feel any excitement about this space, to trust that that's real and true because it is a really cool, exciting, creative space like nothing I've ever experienced before. And my other thought is just that I've found, there's some things in our lives that are just like pure gold and and that are just so worth putting time and money and energy into. And I really, if you're here, if you're listening to this, I know that means you resonate with a lot of what's going on here and a lot of Britten's words. And and I do think that it is a space of gold in life that is really worth investing in.
I would say to allow yourself to get messy and to get crazy and to get wild and, be the phoenix, burn your own nest and just let yourself become passionate. There is something to be said of mystics and of Sufis and of moths being drawn to the flame. There is something there. So if there is any small itch it away and join. And you will never, it is a gift to yourself. That's all I can say. So give yourself a gift.
Thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate your time and so value hearing your testimonies. Thank you. All right, Moon to Moon. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. It was so sweet. It really just, it's, as the steward, I know how powerful this space is. I mean, I know. I know. And it is really, really moving to receive these testimonies, bringing it back to this human experience of wonder, of big magic, of big change, self reclamation, curiosity, playfulness, alchemy, opening into your truth, taking up more space, validating your magic of community, of love, of realizing you're so much more than you thought you were. Yeah, it's really grounding for me in the throes of promo to just be like, yeah, that's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about here. You heard them. Oh my goodness. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Kaj. Thank you, Breezy. Thank you, Bella. I encourage everyone to connect with them if you felt resonant with their voice. And what else can I say? The clock's starting to tick here. You know, it was all fun and games a month ago when it was like, no big deal, just explore the course page. Now it's like, okay, it's high sensation time. Are you applying on Sunday? Are you claiming your seat? Are you ready to take this? Are you ready to claim this? Are you going to give this to yourself? Yeah. Those are for you. My role is just to provide as much as I can to help you with that choice. I'm so excited to read your applications. I'm so excited to be broken open by the wonder of what you write there. Your applications are spells. They're so big-hearted and so beautiful, just like all of you. Thank you. Remember, the only way to apply is to be on the mailing list for TMT 2026. That's not the same as my newsletter. You got to be on the mailing list that you can get on through the links on the course page. Once you're on the list, you will get the link to join us for the Dream Reel, and you will also get the link to apply for the Magician's Table 2026. If you're listening to this way out in the future, I'm sure I have some other program, and you can find out through February episodes what you're supposed to do. All right. Thank you so very much. Cheers.